The courage to feel. Courage is often described as bold, something that requires stepping forward, speaking up, or pushing through fear. But over time, I've come to understand courage in a quieter way. Sometimes courage is simply staying present when emotions rise instead of trying to make them stop. For many years, I believed strength meant managing feelings quickly. If something hurt, I wanted to understand it, solve it, or soften it before it got too big. I didn't always realize I was doing it, yet I felt responsible, productive, and safe. What I didn't understand then is how much energy it takes to hold feelings at arm's length, and how much deeper life becomes when we allow them to arrive without rushing them away. In my earlier decades, I was often very hard on myself. Emotions felt like interruptions that needed to be organized, explained, or improved. Somewhere along the way, though, something shifted. Now, in my 50s, I'm learning how to be gentler with what shows up inside me. Not perfect at it, just more willing. That willingness is its own form of courage. Recently, I watched a close friend step into that courage in a way that stayed with me. She was very triggered by something happening in her current life that connected deeply to her past. The emotion that surfaced was rage. Not surface irritation, not frustration. Rage that had history behind it. Rage that made sense when you understood what it was connected to. It would have been easy to try to redirect it, to soften it, to help her move toward calm. Many of us have been taught that intense emotions need to be quickly fixed, especially if it feels uncomfortable to witness. But what she needed in that moment was not correction. She needed space. She needed permission to feel something that had waited a very long time to be acknowledged. And what I noticed sitting with her was how much courage it took for her to stay with that emotion without turning it into blame, shame, or avoidance. She didn't perform it. She didn't push it onto someone else. She simply allowed it to exist long enough to be understood. That kind of presence is powerful, and it's often misunderstood. Many of us grow up learning that strong feelings are something to manage, contain, or move past quickly. We're taught, sometimes directly and sometimes quietly, that certain emotions are more acceptable than others. Sadness might be tolerated, maybe. Anxiety might be explained, but rage, grief, fear, and deep tenderness can feel harder to hold, both for the person feeling them and the people around them. So we develop habits. We reframe things quickly. We distract ourselves. We stay busy. We explain our feelings before we fully experience them. None of this is wrong, of course. These are ways people learn to protect themselves and keep life moving. It's all good. But sometimes those protective habits prevent emotions from completing their natural cycle. Feelings that aren't acknowledged don't disappear. They tend to wait. And they often return in ways that feel bigger, heavier, or harder to understand. The courage to feel doesn't mean chasing emotion or becoming overwhelmed by it. It means allowing feelings to be present long enough to learn what they are trying to communicate. Emotions carry information about our boundaries, our needs, our losses, our joys. When we listen instead of rushing them away, they often soften on their own timeline. Staying with discomfort can feel unsettling because it asks us to tolerate uncertainty. When a strong emotion surfaces, we don't always know how long it will last or what it will ask of us. The instinct to fix or reframe is often an attempt to regain control. But control and clarity are not the same thing. Clarity often comes after emotion has been acknowledged, not before. I've noticed in my own life that when I allow a feeling to exist without rushing to improve it, something inside me settles differently. The emotion doesn't become permanent as I once feared. Instead, it tends to move more naturally. It rises, it speaks, and eventually it shifts. The hard part is trusting that process when it's happening. There's also courage in witnessing someone else's emotions without trying to manage them. Sitting with another person's grief, anger, or fear can stir discomfort in our own bodies. It can make us want to help them feel better quickly. But often, what helps most is simple presence. Being there without judgment or urgency creates safety that allows emotion to move instead of being stuck. One of the quiet truths about feelings is that they are rarely looking for solutions first. They are looking to be acknowledged. Once they feel heard, they often change shape all on their own. The courage to feel also asks us to loosen the belief that emotions need to make sense immediately. Sometimes feelings show up before we fully understand where they came from or what they're about. Allowing that not knowing is part of emotional maturity. It creates room for self-compassion instead of self-criticism. For people who are used to being strong, capable, and steady for others, allowing themselves to feel can feel especially vulnerable. It can feel like stepping out of a role that has been deeply valued. But feeling doesn't weaken stability. It strengthens it by allowing emotions to move instead of building pressure beneath the surface. Courage doesn't always look like action. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Sometimes it looks like allowing a tear to fall without apologizing for it. Sometimes it looks like sitting quietly with an emotion that has waited years to be noticed. If you find yourself in a season where feelings are arriving more strongly than you expected, it doesn't mean you are losing control. It may mean that something inside of you is ready to be heard. And if staying with those feelings feels overwhelming, you don't have to do it alone. At Hold, confidential listening sessions create space for emotions to be spoken without interruption, advice, or judgment. Sometimes simply having someone present while you sort through what you're feeling can bring a sense of steadiness and clarity that's hard to find on your own. Because the courage to feel is not about doing it perfectly, it's about allowing yourself to be human enough to stay in it.